Well, hello, everyone. Welcome in to the East Alabama Works video podcast. I'm Carl Brady, Workforce Program Manager for East Alabama Works. You know, we are Region 2 of the Alabama Workforce Council, covering the 7 counties of East Alabama. And we're doing these to bring you information that you need as we transition from the COVID-19 pandemic into reopening and recovery. So there's a lot of information that you need to know as we've gone through this process over the past couple of months. And even in the beginning of the pandemic and the crisis, people began immediately preparing for what's going to happen when we get out of this and when we start reopening up our economy and we let people start going back to normal, if you want to use that term, normal. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Central Alabama Community College and what's happening with the folks there at Central Alabama. And we have Doug Flor with us. Doug is the Dean of Workforce and Economic Development Programs for Central Alabama Community College. Doug, welcome into the podcast.
Thank you very much, Carl, for inviting me today.
Great to have you here with us, and I know you guys were in the middle of or nearing the end of a semester when all of the shutdown orders came in the middle of March, and the pandemic really got to a crisis level. So, tell us a little bit about how that shutdown affected you guys with Central Alabama.
Well, it took us not totally by surprise. We knew that something was coming in terms of a shutdown and possibly working from alternate locations. And so one of the things that we had actually done over the last year, we were actually preparing ahead of time to put information from our machine shop, welding, and all these programs online to accentuate our online presence. And so we had purchased GoPros for each of our instructors in the machine shop and welding program. They got them the week before we transitioned online, which was sort of interesting. But I have, we've got some folks that are pretty good about online, and so when we were getting ready for the shutdown, we had instructors who knew things were coming, and so they spent extra time in their labs. We actually had our industrial electronics folks doing nothing but lab work that we couldn't do later when we transitioned to the online. So they were, for the last 2 weeks, doing nothing but in-class lab work. So we were starting to be prepared, and then we had that March 13th deadline that hit, and the governor instituted the guidelines, and we had to go online from then.
So once you got that order to go online, you were able to make that transition for most of your instructors and students, right?
Yes, we did. And, we serve a very rural population. And so from our standpoint, one of the concerns that we had initially was just the amount of students, or the number of students who had internet access. And so one of the things that Central Alabama did is we set up Wi-Fi hotspots in our parking lots so that students could come and just sit in their cars and work from their computers right outside our buildings. Other broadband carriers and so on, they're setting up hotspots in communities. And so anywhere a student could go and get online, they could attend. Now, some of our instructors used Zoom like we're using today. And we also have a product that we use at Central Alabama called Microsoft Teams. And it's very similar to Zoom, and we can do live or recording and those kinds of things as well. So we have instructors who are doing what we call synchronous learning. They would have their students meet with them live, face-to-face. We had students and faculty who were meeting through what we call asynchronous learning, or the use of recordings and video recordings. And even the ones that we were doing live synchronously, we could then download and put them up in our learning management system and have students watch them at a later date if they couldn't be there. We had, let's see, our industrial electronics folks actually went and purchased apps, these apps that they could do AC, DC, and all these different electrical components and teaching online, and the students could play around with different electrical connections and circuits, and that worked out really well. And we got very inexpensive costs on some of those.
Good.
And their site licenses, some of those were site licenses for only $250. They were very gracious. We had Mastercam came through for us. Our machine shop instructors had actually contacted or were just chatting with one of our vendors and who provides the Mastercam software, and they said, "What could we do for you?" And they said, "Well, gee, you know, our students are out there and they could really use some software." Well, they donated about $40,000 worth of software.
Wow.
To our students. And every student was able to have a home version of Mastercam so that they could learn the programming on the CNC machine. That was great. And we just want to say thank you to Mastercam. Our automotive manufacturing instructor, he was teaching an advanced PLC course on the Allen Bradley 5000 PLCs. Well, you can't do that online. You can't do it. The software is just too expensive and everything else. Well, he developed a way through team sharing or a virtual private network where students could actually port into our campus. And he sat on campus and the students ported in, and they were actually on a computer in the classroom where they could actually do the programming and learn. Now that was tough to figure out, and it took a little while, but we managed to work it. So we now know how that gets done.
Yeah. So now for anything comes up in the future, you guys are already ready and have a plan in place.
Yes, and that's very, very cool. Our cosmetology instructor, Vanessa Clark, she did a bang-up job. She was using the learning management system, but she was also, all of her students were video recording through their phones what they were practicing in the class or in the classrooms. And so I was talking to Vanessa last week when she was grading the finals and getting ready to turn in her grades, and she said she had over 100 videos that she had to go through and grade. You know, so there's a lot of information that we were able to share. And, you know, was it as smooth as we wanted it to be in every situation? No. And did we have everything, all our ducks in a row for everything? No. But we were punting just like everybody else in a lot of those areas. Yeah. And our staff and our faculty and the students, they rose to the occasion. They really did.
Well, I was about to say, you must be extremely proud of your team there at Central Alabama in the creativity and ingenuity that they used to get these classes finished up and get these students to the end of their semester.
Oh, yes. And, you know, we have several welding instructors, both on campus and at our career technical centers that we serve across the region. And so they all got together, about 6 or 7 of them online, and on one of the very first days, and they were learning from each other. Okay, you know, I had one very talented person in regards to online instruction and had been doing it for quite some time, and the others, you know, were doing some of it. And so he was able to walk everybody through and say, here's what we can do, and here's how we do this and how we do that. And of course we had our online division chair, Ben Johnson, who spent countless hours reaching out and mentoring and providing guidance and direction to those who were using our learning management system.
You did have a few cases where you just couldn't continue the program because it was so hands-on and it had to be in a lab, hands-on type setting. When we were talking on the phone earlier, I said, there's really no way to learn how to cut a board in a carpentry class without actually turning on the saw and cutting the board, and getting all of that in there. So there are technical programs where it did become an issue that you couldn't do hands-on instruction for a little while.
And while we could provide the students the online instruction for continuing to develop the process and refine the process and get that geared into their minds and so on, for our TIG welding students, it's a very complex, difficult welding situation, and so we had to give some of our students some incompletes. Mm-hmm. But I was really surprised that our machine shop, our cosmetology programs, which are extremely hands-on, are not giving any incompletes. Our welding program has a few. Our industrial electronics has a few, simply because, and that's not our fault, it's just MSSC, the courses that lead to a certified production technician. Those courses, the testing that MSSC does, we couldn't have access to the testing for our students until May 15th. And that's when we can start scheduling them. And our grades are due May 14th. So needless to say, those students who are taking MSSC are going to get incompletes, and they'll have to make that up over the first part of this summer.
But you do have plans in place for anybody that was in that kind of a situation to get caught up and to make up the things that they had to miss.
Yes, and we have we actually are using much of our standard processes for how we do this, and during the summer, this upcoming summer, we will be are keeping our fingers crossed here. I've even have my toes crossed on this one, that we will be face-to-face for our machine shop, our welding, our cosmetology program. Those we will be running hopefully face-to-face. We've got them scheduled. Students are registering, and we hope to have those in face-to-face mode. Most all of the rest of our programs, including industrial electronics and the automotive manufacturing, are going to be online for the summer. It's just that we could not, those three programs just can't do it. And we've got a plan B where, about every 2 weeks, the governor makes an announcement. And so if things don't go as planned for the first, what we'll do is our plan B is to start 2 weeks later and crunch it all in a little tighter. So we've built that into our plan, and we really want to have those face-to-face.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have really been very meticulous over the past couple of months with your planning ahead for when reopening occurs. And you guys, again, are hoping that with the summer semester, you're going to be able to actually physically be in your classrooms and in your labs. And you've put together an extensively detailed plan to make that happen safely for your students and your instructors. Talk about the work that has gone into that and what your plan is looking like at this point.
Well, again, it's a lot has been done by the faculty and the folks that we have here at Central Alabama. We've actually staged it in a couple of different ways. Number one, what do we have to do before the students arrive? And there's actually instructors are going to be contacting students ahead of time before the classes. There will be a recording and a video instruction that talks about, this is what you need to do when you pull into the parking lot. This is what you need to do when we ask you to start coming to the door. And so all of those, that's what we call our or prior to the beginning of class. And then there's the, what are we going to do when they come to the door, and how are we going to handle that? And we're actually, of course, we're maintaining all of the same protocols and that are advised by the governor's advisory committee. We're going to, all of our classrooms have been cleaned several times. The college has bought these automated misters. I don't know if you've heard about those.
I have not. That sounds interesting.
You can actually take this little cart into a classroom, and it mists with this solution that kills the coronavirus.
Wow.
And so it saves a huge amount of time. We don't have to spray or wipe down every surface. These misters go in and they do it and clean up and make it clean for all of our students. So that's a great thing. We've purchased a number of those, and they'll be in use to keep our classrooms and hallways and everything else. Of course,
we're learning through this that the sanitary condition and sanitizing things like that, even without the coronavirus and COVID-19, is probably a pretty good idea to do it fairly regularly, even under normal circumstances.
Yes, and I have a little spray bottle over there with hand sanitizer at 70%, and I was joking around with somebody earlier. I said I use this so much that I myself will certainly pass an alcohol test. My hands won't. But we're using all of these things, and so all of our students will be coming. They'll maintain their distance when they come to the shops. We will have infrared thermal thermometers where we can and they're no touch. We'll just point them at a forehead, and it will take their temperature from a distance.
Wow. And
any student who has a low-grade fever or appears to be sick in any way will be asked to go home and see a doctor and come back with a clean bill of health. And so that's one of the things that we're doing before the students even come in the door. All students will be asked to wear masks. They don't need to be medical masks. They can be a bandana according to the governor's advisory committee. And so we'll have that there. We'll maintain our social distancing. Continue to practice good hygiene. The first thing that the students are going to have to do when they come in the door is to sanitize their hands. All of the students, when they go to the various machines and workstations, will sign in, and so that we know where every student has been, and who's followed who. And every student who leaves a workstation should clean it. And so we'll have plenty of the cleaning supplies on hand. And we're going to just continue to monitor and make sure that everyone is following the guidelines. Yeah. I think the hardest one is going to be maintaining the 6 foot.
That will prove to be difficult, I think, especially with an instructor who needs to walk over to a student to show them something or to correct something they're doing wrong. That will be a difficult adjustment to make. And in addition, you mentioned the sanitizing misters. In addition to that, you also have a protocol for cleaning door handles in common spaces on a regular basis throughout the day as well.
Yes. All the door handles get scrubbed down. One of our ladies was in just a little while ago and said, "I'm here to clean your door handles," and she cleaned my door handle over there, and that was great. Yeah. But it's really important. We really don't want any of our students to come to Central Alabama Community College and be contract something that they don't want.
Well, that sounds great. You guys have really put a lot of work and effort and thought into making this as safe as possible when students come back to campus. Hopefully for summer, if things stay the way they look like they're going to, it looks like we'll be good for students to come back to you in the summer. Any final thoughts or anything, or registration, how people need to register, or if they need more information about what programs you're going to be offering and when they're offered and those kind of things? Because, right now with the unemployment rate, with so many people who either lost a job or got laid off because of COVID-19, a lot of those are going to go back to their old jobs as things start getting recovered. But this is also going to be seen as an opportunity by many people to say, well, you know what, I've been saying for years, I want to do something different. Now here's my opportunity to do that. And Central Alabama Community College is my opportunity to go in and learn a new trade or learn a new skill. And this is a great time to do that. So how do they need to do that? What's the process for getting in touch with you or instructors or registrars to get that process going?
The easiest way to get the process going is to go to cacc.edu. Right there, they'll find all of the links that can take them to student services and enrollment management and so on. And they can take a look at all of our course offerings. You don't have to be a student to be able to see which courses are being offered at this time. All of the summer courses, all of the fall courses are up for viewing. And so students can take a look at anything and everything they want to take. We are actually having we've been tracking our enrollments based on the number of days prior to the term. So our fall terms or summer term starts on the 27th. And at this time last year, we're actually ahead in terms of credit hour production.
Wow.
So that's what you were saying earlier is true. More people are. And a lot of those transient students who would, they're home for the summer. They can't go back to their own institutions, are coming and taking their physics and their biologies and all their other courses here at CAC online. It's cheaper.
Good idea, yeah.
And we are cheaper.
And let's talk a little bit about the financial part of that as well, especially in the technical programs. If you are planning to take courses or a degree program that's technical in a high-skilled, high-wage, high-demand job, there are so many things out there through Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, just so many different opportunities to have that education paid for, and it not cost you a penny to go into these programs. So you definitely want to check in with the financial aid office and even whatever your local Alabama Career Center office is, because that's where they administer the WIOA part of the programs.
Yes, and the WIOA funds are great. Our welding program, our machining program, our industrial electronics program, they're already approved by WIOA. And so if you are an individual who is under that threshold, and by the way, that threshold actually doubled not long ago.
Right.
So it really provided a lot more opportunities for people, and especially if you're out of work, underemployed, those WIOA funds will pay for everything. They'll pay for your tuition. They'll pay for your books. They'll pay for your welding pads, your helmet, your welding boots. We have students who come in and they don't have to pay a single dime for any of these kinds of things for their classes. Supplies, books, and tuition all covered. We also have scholarships, companies that have put forward scholarship money for our students to be able to get. Last year we had several that were funded by the Alabama Automobile Manufacturers Association. We had several that were funded by Haas, the makers of CNC machining. By the way, we just got approved to have a new 5-axis CNC machine in our Childersburg campus.
Wow, very nice.
And as of today, we are having a new Zeiss Duramax calibration machine installed on campus. They're on campus to install it, and it's the latest, greatest piece of equipment. And so our machine shop is actually doing exceptionally well in Childersburg. We have doubled our footprint in the Childersburg campus, and
Very nice.
and Sylacauga High School is very gracious in working with us, and we have a good pipeline of students, and so we're actually doubling our footprint. We've got Tesla has donated some classroom amenities, like we have a new 85-inch ultra high def TV in the classroom with a camera that we can actually take around to the machines, and video feed it to our other campus. And then we also have a great stereo system that'll be put in the rooms as well. That's all been donated by Tesla.
Wow, that's some great news on all the progress you guys are making there at Central Alabama Community College. And Doug, I do appreciate the time you've taken with us today. We need to let you go for some other appointments and things like that through the day. But thank you so much for spending the time with us and being here with us on East Alabama Works and our video podcast.
Thank you very much, Carl, for having me today. My best to you and your family.
Thank you very much. You too. And folks, thank you for joining us here on the podcast as well. Remember, our website is eastalabamaworks.com. We are Region 2 of the Alabama Workforce Council, serving the East Alabama counties and communities in Region 2. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.